All right. Sorry, I was starting the recording for this open session part. Director Barsanti?
Here.
Director Corbett?
Present.
Director Couch?
Here.
Director Mayo is not on yet, and President Burke?
Present. So item A2 is public comment and written communications. This is where people can address the board for items that are not on the agenda. For anything substantial, we suggest letters, and it may be referred to staff for a report of action or subsequent committee or board meeting. And so I know we have one, and I would just like to remind anyone giving public comment at this time that you are limited to 3 minutes, and that's particularly important because we have some close agenda items in front of us. For anyone who would like to give public comment.
I would.
And if you're willing, please state your name, and the mic is yours.
My name is John Shelter, McKinleyville Community Partner with New Directions. As everybody knows, I've done extensive work with the homeless population, and right now we're in the middle of a crisis. And one of the populations out there that are the most vulnerable are the homeless population. And we have seen the city of Arcata has now stepped up and has actually used 2 parking lots to actually house the homeless in. And they're doing it quite successfully, and they're bridging the gap that you don't normally see between community and homelessness. In a matter of crisis, they're the only ones that have actually stepped up. Not to say that the Department of Social Services hasn't done a part, our law enforcement hasn't done a part, but we have an opportunity right now to actually make a stand and actually look at some of our vacant parking lots and a small attempt to try it. We've already have Arcata showing the way that it has been done. We have expertise in McKinleyville as far as food and bathrooms and toilets. We have New Directions that would be more than happy to oversee something if we would like to partner up and go. I just don't see it actually being a success unless we have McKinleyville Service District supportive of us. And then we can get the county resources that's been, put out there, the money to help get started. We've already seen a bleed through from Arcata and some of the local places around that have been giving out tents. I'm working with the Land Trust right now, and we ran across 3 camps, all unified tents. Well, if we can just move those individuals out that we're chasing around town, we can send a message to the homeless and actually maybe change the way even after the virus. But right now, we're not really doing enough to keep the homeless population safe. And if the virus gets into that population, it's going to be real hard to get it out because we chase them around right now. The population we have in McKinleyville, if we act now, is pretty stable. Not all of them, but I think we can move them in the right direction by getting them in one area. We can actually talk with them. So that's all I have to say, and it's just something to think about. I would be more than happy to actually start the ball rolling. We have wonderful places like the Joyful Healer, as we know, and we have a lot of other food groups right now. We can actually do this and actually really kind of put a stop on everything. Thank you very much for your time.
I have one.
Thank you, John.
I have one question, and that is how large is the homeless population?
On any given day, the homeless population is like fluid. They do kind of move around regardless of what the virus. And this is the problem I see, is that some of the homeless that I've just seen in Arcata are now here in McKinleyville. They've gotten a couple tents from Arcata and now are here in McKinleyville. See, so if you really want to look at it in the areas that I've been with just the Land Trust and some of the other areas in the boundary areas by the Mad River, we probably have about 35 to 40 that I know of. Of course, I don't know everybody, and I'm not going to claim that, so there may be more.
All right, thank you.
Mary, I can actually speak a little bit to that too for John. The last point in time count I think was 105 or something of that nature, of homeless. That was a year ago point in time count. And I know that the Joyful Healer serves around 35 of those people. So your 35 to 40 that John Shelter just mentioned might even be a little bit low, might be like not quite half, like a third.
Yeah. And here again, I do not claim to know everything or be everywhere. So it's just something to think about.
Thank you so much for bringing it to us. And thanks for your work in the community, John.
Thank you, Mary.
Are there any other public comment or written communications to the board?
There was none that came in at 4:30, so.
Okay. With that, item A3 is closed session discussion, and we do have 2 items in the agenda for closed session, so we will be convening to closed session at this time.
Yeah,
Agenda. Did you have a comment, John?
yeah, I think since we got notice that someone was trying to attend, I don't mind us proceeding, but I want to make it very clear, and they have that they should be able to get the public.
So John, we're still having trouble hearing you, but I think what you might be saying is if there are people trying to call in, we need to make sure that they have access to the meeting. Is that right?
That would be, yes, access to public comment. So if we go through the meeting, it takes them a half hour to get on with April, that they're not left out in the cold and said sorry.
So would it be appropriate if we do have people from the public join to, after the agenda item we're on, to offer a public comment?
Yes.
Okay. I'm prepared to do that. Are you all right with that sort of a meeting agenda change, General Manager?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then we are calling to order, I'm calling to order the 7 o'clock meeting. A roll call, please.
All right. Director Barsanti.
Here.
Director Corbett.
Here.
Director Couch.
Here.
Director Mayo. Was that a here?
That was a here.
Okay. And President Burke.
Here. And for the record as well, one of our directors is called into the meeting, but the audio is unclear. So we're depending on our general manager to provide more clarity. Although we can hear Director Mayo, it is a little garbled. So you will also hear General Manager Orsini sort of repeating statements from Director Mayo. If you will all join me for item A2, the Pledge of Allegiance. And let's see, I led last time. Dave Couch, will you lead the pledge for us?
Sure. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag
to the flag
of the United States of America
America,
and to the republic
for which it stands,
which it
one
stands,
nation,
one nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
liberty and
and
justice
justice
for all.
Well, the audio there and the feedback can be a little bit tricky, but I think we all made it through. I don't know if any of you have tried singing Happy Birthday on Zoom meetings, but it can be kind of a mix mash. Okay, are there any additions to tonight's agenda? And it appears we lost our general manager.
He's still there. His video is off.
Okay.
here he is.
There he is. Okay. Heart palpitations.
I turned it around to the flag, and then when I spun the camera back around,
Oh, no.
Okay. Do we have any additions to tonight's
Dennis
agenda?
trying to get in.
Dennis.
I'm
trying.
Okay, let you in.
Yay!
Yay!
I do here where it says do not want to continue without audio, join with computer audio?
Yes.
So say join with computer audio?
Yes.
Yes.
You got to give me real clear directions. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's numbers up here. Do I need to dial a number?
Not if you're with computer audio.
Not if you're going to do computer audio.
We can hear you.
But we can hear you just fine, Dennis.
Well, that's good. That's all I care about.
Yeah, because I put the
Yeah.
I put my phone up on underneath the camera, underneath the microphone, so you should be able to be heard a little
Let
bit
me
better.
keep doing that and I can look at you. I can make faces.
Yeah, that's where, right. Yes. We can hear you loud and clear, Dennis. Glad for it. Okay. I asked on additions to the agenda, and we're at, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move
So I hear a motion from John to approve.
Giving up a kiss for my sweet guy.
Second?
And Dave, for a second. Director Couch,
Yes.
roll call.
All right. Director Barsanti.
Here.
Director Corbett. Director Corbett, was that a yes?
But what are we voting on? I'm sorry. What are we voting on?
Just
Approve the
approval
agenda.
of the agenda.
Oh, okay. Yes.
All right. Director Corbett.
Yes.
Director Couch.
Yes.
Director Mayo.
Yes.
President Burke.
Yes. We're moving into item B, public hearings. These are items of a quasi-judicial or legislative nature. Public comments relevant to these proceedings are invited. Item B1, conduct a public hearing for annual levy of assessments on page 5. And this is our General Manager, Greg Orsini, on this item.
Thank you, President Burke. So this item comes back every year, and as part of the assessment for the Measure B, we have to at this time of the year we have to approve the engineer's report, and then we also have to approve and order the levy and the collection of the assessment. So that's basically what this is. The assessment this year is targeted, or is projected to be somewhere in the neighborhood of around $217,000, $218,000, and of which will be used. The monies collected will be used for the finance to pay this annual payment for the financing of the teen center, and to also cover the costs for maintenance and repairs of park and recreation facilities. So the staff recommendation is specific for a public hearing, and that is staff recommendation is to propose for the levy of the assessment for fiscal year 2020-21 of the Measure B Assessment District, to open the public hearing, to listen to staff comments and recommendations to the board, to open the testimony and the public, to basically open public testimony and consider any public input, written protests, to close the public hearing, and the staff recommends that the board adopt Resolution 2020-08, which is to approve the annual engineer's report for fiscal year 2020-21 for the McKinleyville Community Services District Measure B Maintenance Assessment District, renewal for parks and recreation and open space facilities, which is attached as item 1, or attachment 1, and Resolution 2020-09, ordering the levy and collection of the assessments within the McKinleyville Community Services District Measure B Maintenance Assessment District, renewal for parks, open space, and recreation facilities for fiscal year 2020-21, which is attachment number 2.
So so my next action is to open a public hearing. Is that correct?
That's correct. You would open the public hearing, accept any testimony or protests, written or verbal, from the people in attendance, and then close the public hearing, and then ask for a motion to approve the two resolutions.
And given that we're on a web-based meeting, I'm just going to double check with you as our general manager. I do not see any members of the public in attendance.
There are none. Correct.
Okay, so I'm opening the public hearing, and as noted, there are no public members in attendance. So I turn to listen to staff comments. We heard the recommendation to the board. Are there any further comments at this time?
There are not.
First from staff, okay. And then at this time, I could close the public hearing and then hear from the board. Is that how we would proceed?
That's appropriate.
Okay, so I am now closing the public hearing, and I'll come to the board. And again, we're looking for motions, and can the motion be as per staff recommendation in this case? Is that going to be sufficient for? Okay.
Yes, that would be sufficient.
Okay. So any comments from the board?
Hey, Madam Chair, I would like this, John Corbett. I'd like for us to approve resolution 2020-08 and 2020-09 and the staff report related thereto.
Were you able to capture that, April?
John, can you please repeat, you said and the staff, and then you cut out at that point.
The staff report related thereto.
Okay. Thank you, I got that.
I will second it. I will second it.
Thank you. And any further discussion?
Oh, I just want to say this is one of the greatest things the citizens of McKinneyville have done for the district, and in turn what the district has done for the citizens of McKinneyville. And it's created a whole recreational system, I think undreamed of, for the little water district and district we started out at. So it's a very big deal, very enthusiastic.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, then roll call vote.
Director Barsanti.
Yes.
Director Corbett.
Yes.
Director Couch.
Yes.
Director Mayo.
Yes.
President Burke.
Yes. We now come to item C, public comment and written communications. Again, I do not see any members of the public in attendance. Is that correct, General Manager?
That is correct.
Okay, are there any written communications?
No.
No.
Communications.
I'd like to ask a question to our board secretary. Did you make contact with that person? Did that work?
We're actually, she just sent me another email, so I'm trying to, it's asking her for a password it's saying it's invalid. So I'm trying to work with her on that, and we're troubleshooting.
Yeah, one other option is maybe she'll send an email with her comments.
Yeah. In fact, I'll mention that right now too.
Is it the same password for everybody? MCSD 2020?
That is for, yeah, she's trying to dial in. The 1-800 number is not supposed to have a password, but the other, so that's why we put it on there, but the other one is supposed to have a password. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. So hopefully we'll get her on soon.
Is the board comfortable proceeding, knowing that there's someone trying to get to our meeting
Yes,
that cannot?
with the reopener and the discretion of the chair.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or concerns from board members about someone trying to join us? Hearing none, I'm going to proceed. Item D, the consent calendar. These are routine and non-controversial to be acted on one time without discussion. If anyone wishes to remove an item, it shall be removed so that it may be acted upon separately. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar or remove any item?
Also
Is
move,
that?
subject to any notice of removal.
There's a motion to move the consent
second.
calendar.
Yeah.
And Dave, Director Couch is seconding. And roll call?
All right. Director Barsanti,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Corbett,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
and President Burke.
Yes. Item E, continued and new business.
Mary,
Yes?
hey, James,
Yes,
did you call, are you on your phone or how did you log in?
I am on the computer and I'm on the district phone, the 3251 number.
Oh, okay, so, so you called in and used the 800 number?
No, the one that popped up, the 669, the 633 number.
Never mind, okay.
That is also how I called in, was through that 669 phone
Right.
number.
And I am, I actually gave her the password for that other number just to see if maybe, but everything that I read and what I got doesn't have that as, no password is needed for the 800 number. So I don't know what's up, but I've sent her that other password a couple of times now, and hopefully we'll get her on. I've also let her know that when she comes on, that the board will hear her public comment.
And who is this?
Her name is Elaine Weinreb.
Oh, the reporter.
Yeah, Elaine works for the North Coast Journal.
Oh, okay.
So, would you tell Elaine, and I'm sure she knows this, but that if somehow she can't get on, this is all taped and she can listen to it. And they do that often anyway.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we are at item E, continued in new business with our item E1, fiscal year 2019-2020 budget review and potential amendment on page 167. And we turn to Colleen Trask, our finance director.
Hello.
Hello.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Staff recommends that the board review the fiscal 2019-20 Parks and General Fund budget for potential amendment from the impact of various county and state COVID-19 health orders on the district facilities, rentals, and recreation programs. Discuss, take public comment, and approve the proposed revised Parks and General Fund budget for the current fiscal year. Obviously, we developed the budget from the best estimates that we had. None of those estimates included the impact of a pandemic. The various state and county orders related to it have had a fairly significant impact on our program revenue and our facilities rentals, obviously. And the district's procedures for this require that a formal revision happen when a major budget line item or category of the budget deviates by more than 10% from the original estimate, that in a way that we can, predict or catch, obviously. The loss of parks program revenue and the facility rentals fees due to the various shelter-in-place orders exceed the 10% threshold. The grants revenue line actually is also lower by more than 10%, although that is related to a capital project grant for the Fisher Trails project that ended up not being awarded to the district in this fiscal year. On the plus side, of course, the expenses have also decreased significantly, although not as much as revenues. The majority of the wage decrease comes from laying off the part-time program staff. Employees maintaining public facilities are still considered essential under all the various orders. Some of the maintenance staff time is shifting to the admin line item with the planning and process adjustments that we've been trying to do. The rest of the expense reduction falls under things like travel, the CalPERS. I adjusted the CalPERS, the the unfunded accrued liability set aside, not the actual payment, but the voluntary set aside that we do. Because if I recall correctly, when we set up those set asides, we did leave the board leeway to reduce them or eliminate them for a year, for unusual circumstances. And I can hardly think of circumstances that are more unusual than these right now. And the other adjustment we made was to delay some of the capital expenditures into the next fiscal year. So the adjustments are highlighted on attachment 1. And you can see where we're expecting the program related fees to drop for the year overall by almost $150,000, and that's a lot. The facility fees are dropping by an estimated $20,000. The grants, we took $58,000 out of it, and that will, and that of course is also mostly offset by, in fact, entirely offset by the reduction in capital expenditures, which we brought down to very, very little. Again, some of the programs salaries are the ones that are the most reduced. The benefits, actually, most of that shifted over to admin, at least for the short term. We're still maintaining all of the facilities, obviously. We can't let things sit empty or go unrepaired. That would be a bad thing. But other decreases in expenditures obviously are programs, travel, and as I listed above. We're going to end up looking at approximately, at least best guess at this point, about a $17,000 loss for the year. But given that we've dropped almost $150,000 in program revenue, I'd say that's fairly good. I mean, we're trying to keep things even and steady, but this COVID thing is hurting us. So we wanted to put that out for the board's review and hopefully an approval of the revised budget.
Quick clarifying. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah. Hey, thank you very much for all of that. Could you or Greg give us a short info on what's going on in terms of our losses, our employees laid off or furloughed, et cetera, and our ability to recoup any thing from the stimulus input? Just, I know it's a general question, but I think you kind of get my idea.
Yeah, you want me to handle that one, Colleen?
If you want to give them the overall picture, I mean, I'll say the same things, but you could probably give them more details since you're on the weekly calls.
Yeah, so
it doesn't have to be real detailed, you guys. Just a thumbnail.
Okay, so for at this point in time, we don't know that any of the losses in revenues that we're experiencing are going to be that we're going to be able to claim those and get those recouped. So as we would expect that during a disaster that, say, a tree fell and smashed the building, we would be able to recoup those damages from FEMA. In this situation, so far, it's highly unlikely that we're going to be able to recoup any of those revenue losses that we're going to experience. But there might be something in the next bill. We've been working very hard at CSDA to let the federal government know about California special districts and the impact that this has had on our ability to do business. But it remains to be seen whether any of that money as a stimulus or as a damage or a FEMA reimbursement is going to ever come to fruition. And as far as our staff goes, our part-timers are not being worked, but all of our full-time benefited employees, we're supplementing, we're utilizing them, doing other things. And so as of today, all of our full-time benefited Parks and Rec employees are either doing the jobs that they do in the maintenance department, or as administration are helping around this to help supplement their pay doing water and sewer stuff. And actually Jens, who does a lot of the programming, he's going to actually start riding a lawnmower for a week mowing out at Pillar Sports Complex.
Cool. Well, Greg, listen, thank you for that. And the reason I asked the question was so that I could bring this up to the board. You know, as we did our strategic planning the last several years, and we talked about disasters, earthquakes, the water lines under Nad River and across the bridge, I think we all were pretty cognizant of, you know, that these are potentials, but we never know what's going to happen. And this disaster, I think, should help us all when we go this year, next year, the year after, doing our strategic plans, to be much more cognizant of how this district has looked out for its employees and looked out for our bottom line and our maintenance. So I just wanted to bring that up, and thank you all for everything you're doing. And so anyway, that's it.
Okay.
Really
Thank
quick,
you.
Mary?
Yes?
Sorry, I just wanted to let you know that our member of the public has come on. So I just wanted to kind of
Excellent.
give you information.
That's great news. After this agenda item, if I do not stop and ask for public comment, please prompt me to do so. I've just forgotten. Any more questions or comments from the board on this item?
Yes, this is John.
Director Corbett?
First of all, for us to have a projected loss of $17,000 is almost short of miraculous. So I want to commend staff for biting the bullet, cutting the costs, transferring the employees. I think this is an exemplary job under circumstances. And so it's not that okay with the board. I just want to say job very, very well done. In regard to eligibility, as people know, there are political policy decisions on both sides of this, which reasonable people can disagree on. But I hope that the special districts keep trying to keep the door open in Washington, D.C. I think prospects are relatively slight because there's a question whether the federal government subsidize state, county, and local government at all. And of course, that includes special districts. But without asking.
Wait, what happened to Mary?
We lost audio.
Yeah, I lost Mary's audio.
Oh,
I'm sorry. That's on me. I'm using a phone mute so that you're not hearing my background noise. I was just saying, John, your audio is still coming in and out, so I'm going to paraphrase briefly. Just that you're saying, job well done, great to come in only at 17,000 of losses, so projected. That political policies, you know, good people disagree on both sides, but that, and we might, the prospects are slight for getting federal subsidies, but you don't know unless you ask. Is that a fair summary?
Very well.
I just want to make sure that we're getting your meaning. Thank you, John. Any other questions or comments from the board? And so we are looking for, well, let's see. Is there any public comment on this item?
No, thank you.
And, okay, thank you for chiming in. And, okay, hearing no other public comment, then I will entertain a motion.
I'll move that we adopt the Parks and Recreation Service budget as presented.
I will second it.
Okay, roll call.
Director Barsanti,
Yes.
Director Corbett,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
and President Burke.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, we started this meeting without any members of the public, and now we have a member of the public with us. So I'm going to do an abbreviated first welcome to our meeting. We are using Zoom, and there are a few ways that you can communicate with us as a member of the public. You can raise your hand. If you look at your screen and find the participants list, find your name, you have the ability to raise your hand. And we seem to be muting ourselves more than being muted by the host. So if you do want to speak, your mic might also be on, but I do recommend for all of us, actually, if you're not speaking, to use your mute because it may help other people's sound.
Mary,
Let's see.
can I chime in?
Yes?
So if you're
Yes?
if you're at a computer and you don't mute yourself, if you hold your space bar down, it unmutes you. So when you want to talk, you can hold the space bar down on your keyboard, and that will automatically unmute you, and you can speak, and then you can let go of it, and it automatically puts you back on mute.
Thank you. Yes, that's a good tip.
Also, our member of the public is on the phone, not on a computer, so she will not have those opportunities.
Okay, right. Thank you for reminding me of that. And so that's going to be important for our host, which is both our board secretary and general manager, to make sure that we don't inadvertently keep a member of the public muted.
Yes.
Okay. And so since there was, we know, trouble joining the meeting, I would like to open the public comment item C again, to make sure that if there is public comment, that it can be heard at this time. If it's a matter that requires action, maybe referred to a staff report or a subsequent committee or board meeting, and items that are detailed, it is best to receive a letter to the board, and comments are limited to 3 minutes. Are there any public comments at this time?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I am moving back into our agenda items. So we just finished item E1 and we are moving into item E2. Review operations draft budget for water, wastewater, and streetlights funds fiscal year 2021, page 170. And again, we come to Colleen Trask, our finance director. This is an informational only item. I'm mute.
Space bar. There you
go. Oh no, I got the space bar. I just need to actually unmute the whole thing so I don't have to sit here and press the bar the whole time I'm trying to talk. All right, so this is the budget for the draft budget for water, wastewater, and streetlight funds for next year, which is July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. We actually don't expect to have a great deal of impact from the COVID-19 pandemic on water and wastewater. We don't, or streetlights. We don't expect that to be large. Even though we've presented a draft budget for parks, we are reworking that right now. And so when the board sees the final budget, it will contain adjustments according to our best estimates for how this all is going to impact parks from July going forward. The two notable highlights on this budget, however, are the large revenue lines for grant funding. Both the water and wastewater funds have been awarded significant grants. The water fund is for a 4.5 million gallon tank that has actually been on the capital projects list since I started back in 2012. And it was, the idea, of course, is to have enough water supply for emergencies so that we can have adequate fire flow all the way through McKinleyville, even during a major emergency. And we got a grant to do that. That's awesome. And the other one is the Thiel undercrossing grant for the wastewater fund. The amount of grant funding represents what we currently expect, or the proportion of what we currently expect those projects to be completed in the next fiscal year. So basically that'll show up on June 30th, 2021 as a grant receivable, and that'll be grant revenue. But obviously, because these are the enterprise funds, we're not going to see the capital expenditure in the revenue and expenses. We'll only see that in the assets, right? So first in work in process, and then eventually as a capital fixed asset. So and I did actually include, the last attachment is the CIP budget as adjusted for these grants, for what we expect to see truly completed in the fiscal year 2021, even though the grants themselves in total are quite a bit larger. So any questions, any comments, any discussion that needs to happen?
Real quick point of clarification, the purple cells on the spreadsheet or the capital improvement budget are for grant dollars, is that correct?
Yeah, let me make this bigger. Okay. Yes. Yeah, so like in the water system, you'll see that current fiscal year, and these are in thousands. So we're expecting to spend about a little less than $180,000 on the 4.5 million gallon tank. The rest of the grant is showing as a total for next year or for the following fiscal year. If it spreads out, say another fiscal year after that, of course, we'll proportion that accordingly, but we don't have the information to do that right now. So we're rolling that, but yeah, that's what the purple ones are.
Thank you. Comments and questions from the board?
Are you hearing me? I just want to thank Colleen. This was a lot of work. I appreciate all the work and time that you put into this, Colleen. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
John, if that's you talking, you need to unmute yourself.
Can I just hold the bar down?
Yes.
Does that work?
Yes, we hear you.
I can hear you.
We can hear you, yes.
I'll have a carpal tunnel aim into the meeting. I just wanted to indicate that I'm glad you mentioned how it's flowing to the net assets, because that's where our not free grant money, but almost free grant money is flowing, and that's a very positive thing for the district. I liked it that you're spacing out the projects, because we have so many projects that it is going to require some spacing if we're going to be realistic about it. And so I think this is
could you elaborate a little bit on, so John, you picked up on some spacing happening, and it's, you know, one of the things I think that's concerning is how many large projects we have on the books. What is the spacing that you're, are you just noting how the dollars fall across this capital improvement budget?
right. Colleen mentioned some of us tipping over to the next year. That implies it's being spaced, not all trying to be done this year. I think that's wise that staff is thinking in those terms. So we manage these wisely. And I just want to tell staff we noticed. And
I was going to say that credit is much, absolutely more credit to Greg and James, especially for projects like this, and to GHD, who's helping us, who helped us get the grants in the first place, and is going to be helping us manage those projects. So we don't have, one of them is going to be the balance of the funds comes through a low interest loan. So that will show up on the balance sheet, and only the interest will actually show up on the statement of activities. But yeah, it's a pretty serious thing to get these, but these are projects again that we've had on the list for a really, really long time. And for the security of McKinleyville, as far as having potable water in an emergency or anything else, this is a big deal.
And if I'm not mistaken, when we put the survey out to the community, that the number one item that came back as community with highest community interest was about emergency services. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So this is, you know, having the circumstance where we can respond to this tank project really it shows a responsiveness to the community's concerns, and I think that's a great demonstration. So yes, thanks to our staff. Thanks, Colleen and Greg and all for making it all happen, as well as working well with our consulting partners who help bring in grant dollars. Okay, yeah. Any other questions? Oh yes, General Manager.
Just a comment. James works really hard on getting this budget put together, and Colleen basically puts together the revenue side and all the wage and benefit package side, and then James fills in a lot of the expense and the vast majority of the capital stuff. So it's definitely a team in putting together this budget. So I just would like to make sure that kudos go all around.
And then I would like to thank James too.
Yes, thank you.
Good job.
I'm sorry, James.
Both of
Couldn't
you.
do this without him.
Yeah.
Yeah, your face should be up here. Your face should be up here on the screen so that I'm looking at you. But I'm sorry I didn't call you out on the first round. Very much appreciated. James.
I'm blushing, and you guys would see me blushing is why.
We won't allow James to buy a camera for his computer. That's why he's sitting there and all you can see is James Henry.
Okay. Any further comments or questions from the board? Any comments? Oh, I heard something, but I'm not sure if that was a comment. Okay. Any comments from the public? All right. Hearing none, this is an informational item. So I'm ready to move to item E3. Item E3, discussion of 2019 wastewater management facility annual report. And for this, we are calling upon James Henry, our operations director.
Thank you. And I did want to make a comment. I do have a camera. I just didn't have enough gel to do my hair, so I didn't want to turn it on. So the district reports annually to the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board by February of each year. The report reviews performance of the treatment plant for the past year, the progress of any projects, provides detail of all required discharge testing results, makes a note of compliance failures, and provides general discussion of performance and future expansion. The district was in compliance throughout the year with all testing other than the dichlorobromomethane testing, which had exceedances in February, March, April, and May. And this was due, which I brought to the board earlier this year, due to the performance of the treatment plant's upgrade project. All the ammonia testing that we used to have results of 30s went to a non-detect, so we are doing very well at the treatment plant. But as a result of that increased performance, the district experienced higher trihalomethane results than the discharge permit allows. So the increased dichlorobromomethane, which is a byproduct of the chlorine disinfection, was causing us hits. So we ran a series of pilot studies by staff, and I believe General Manager reported to how we use the biosolids basins water to use that to add the ammonia back into the system to overcome this. The plan was submitted to the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board and was approved, and we've been in compliance since then. I won't go through the chronic testing, but all that was great. We passed all those. We were required to run a species sensitivity screening to verify which one would exhibit higher percentage of effect, and they all came back great. So they told us to pick one, and we picked the trout. There is a 292-page report, which I'm very happy to read to you guys tonight if you'd like. But that's on the district website if you want to read it on your own time. And behind this is just a 9-page summary of that report. Staff recommends the board just review and have any questions or comments from the public. That is all.
Well, thank you, James, for your presentation and also for saving the trees associated with printing out and putting the report in every one of our board packets, but letting us know that it's available. Thank you. And coming back to the dichlorobromomethane testing, one of the main reasons we upgraded our treatment facility was to address nitrogen in the system. Specifically, I mean, call me out if I'm wrong here, but nitrates in the system. And so we have a new system that has us very much meeting our reduction in nitrogen, but we have this new thing that we had to address, and we've found a way to address it, and now we have it functioning well on all limits that are tested. Is that fair synopsis?
Yeah, well, so we had a nitrate limit that was coming up that we wanted to be under with this upgrade. One of our biggest issues we were having that was also responsible for the upgrade is ammonia. We were having, higher, high to mid to high 30s ammonia results. This process is working so well that it's removing all ammonia, and there's where, if you have chlorine disinfection, there's where your issue lies. So what we're doing is adding some ammonia. We tried to manipulate the system to try to have ammonia occur at the end of the process, and afraid of upsetting the process, you can't go too far, take a big swing at it. But we tried adjusting it to have ammonia residual at the end, but wasn't working. So using the VSB to add the ammonia in that's needed, we're able to offset or overcome the fracture, the calculation of ammonia to chlorine.
Excellent. It's all very, very much what a chemistry system based on biological interactions and whatnot. So very complex. And thank you to you and the operations staff for working with our system and making it function well.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Questions or comments? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none. This is an informational item. So thank you again, James, and thanks to your staff as well. Anything further, General Manager?
James touched on it briefly, and that was our inability to be able to consistently meet our biological testing, and that's our chronic toxicity and acute toxicity testing, and one of the main reasons why we had to upgrade, along with the fact that we need to have an ammonia standard, and the fact that we reliably can now pass our chronic and acute toxicity testing, and actually chose the rainbow trout as opposed to the even though we could have used the Daphnia or the rainbow trout, we chose the rainbow trout, which is a more, which is a reality for its actual science. The toxicity of the river. There's very few Daphnia, I believe, in the Mad River, but there are plenty of rainbow trout. So our selection of the rainbow trout is a great indication of just how consistent and reliable our process is.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'm going to move to item E4, which is Humboldt LAFCO official ballot selection, page 188. And I'm turning to our board secretary, April Sousa, for this item.
All right. So in front of, or in your packet, you have information on the LAFCO official ballot. The term of one of the special district members of LAFCO expires on June 30th. And so the process of electing a member for the next term, which will be, the next term will be July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2024, is detailed in the first attachment. There are two candidates, Deborah Lake, who is the incumbent from Fruitland Ridge Fire Protection District, and Desiree Davenport from Humboldt County Services District. So the recommendation is that staff recommends that the board review information provided, take public comment, and choose one of the listed candidates to fill the upcoming LAFCO term beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2024.
So given that we don't have a bio or whatnot to go on, or is there any dialogue among board members that can help us know which, we have to pick one candidate, correct, for this
Correct. Yeah,
recommendation? So I'll open it up to the board for discussion.
Can we have Dave give us his opinion?
Sure.
He's on NAFCO, right?
Right. So,
Yes.
so I just know Deborah Lake from her work on the board, and she seems very good. I don't know Desiree Davenport, so I would probably opt for the incumbent. She kind of brings Southern Humboldt representation to the LAFCO board, so I think that's a good thing.
Well, thank you. I was going to ask the same thing, Dave. And over my years here on the board, I've always advocated for as much local participation as we could have. So thank you for that. And I would concur to go with your evaluation.
And I think I see John speaking, but John, you're muted.
Okay, I'm back on the bar.
There you are.
I just want to say I agree totally with David's analysis of Debbie Lake. She's done a very good job for, I don't know, 20 years, a long, long time. But that area and district is represented. And she's done a real good job of that. And I think diversity, and she's overall, I think, a good board member. So I strongly support her.
Okay, since I've heard from I think every board member here, I'm going to turn it and see if there's public comment on this item. Hearing none, I'll bring it back. And this is a roll call item, so I will entertain a motion.
I'll move that we support the candidacy of Debbie Lake.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Oh, the motion was to support the candidate Deborah Lake.
Deborah Lake. Yeah, I got that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, we have a motion and a second. And roll call, please.
Director Barsanti?
Yes.
Director Corbett?
Yes.
Director Couch?
Yes.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
And President Burke?
Yes, thank you. We are on to item E5, and I was just noting, it's so nice to be able, even though we can't be together, to look at each one of you, because when we sit at the dais, we don't get to see each other very well. So, and we don't get to see Director Mayo tonight at all, but I can see the others here. Item E5, review Humboldt LAFCO status of current and future proposals presented at the April 29th, 2020 meeting. And we are turning to both our general manager, Greg Orsini, and Dave Couch, our director.
Sure, I'll start this and then I'll let Director Couch take over. So Director Couch had contacted me and had requested that this item be placed on the agenda, and it relates to an item in the actually item 8C in the LAFCO agenda, and that was a staff report related to a conversation for incorporation between the 5th District Supervisor and LAFCO staff and the County Administrative Officer, Amy Nielsen. So anyway, at this point in time, I will I'll turn this over to Director Couch.
Okay, well, I just saw this on here and I thought I should officially share it with everybody because it does kind of involve us. And as I told the LAFCO meeting, I think that anything talking about McKinleyville Incorporation should include McKinleyville Community Service District, just because we would be probably the most impacted agency. And I talked to LAFCO staff about this today, and so I guess there's kind of some problems with Humboldt County is supposed to be collecting data on money that's spent on McKinleyville versus money that comes from McKinleyville, and the CAO doesn't think it's working very well and it's kind of a waste of time and money. So she has been in discussions with Supervisor Madrone about that. And then he kind of involved LAFCO in it. It was LAFCO's staff's suggestion that one way to deal with this would be to hire an independent consultant who would do a preliminary feasibility study. That's the way these things are frequently done. And so that would involve county funding that study, and then they would be looking for other funding partners, which would probably be us. But I've just been trying to kind of be a jerk and tell everybody that I think you should involve us right off from the start, instead of having something going on that involves us and then getting us involved at a, a secondhand involvement in it. So, and the other thing, talking to Colette, who's staff with a LAFCO. So this year we've been doing municipal service reviews, and then next year we'll move on to community service district reviews. So there'll be some work for Pat next year with doing our I don't know how often we do these, but anyway, it's like a municipal service review for the community service district. So those were kind of the two things I talked to Colette about today.
Yeah, there's supposed to, I believe it's supposed to be done every 6 years or something like that. It's been since 2009 since the last time one was done.
What does a review involve?
The municipal service reviews are available. If you go to the LAFCO website, you can find the McKinleyville Community Services District Municipal Service Review. It basically, it's a picture of basically a map of the boundaries of McKinleyville Community Services District, and then an explanation, some demographic information, and then an explanation of the services we provide. It's probably, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 pages long. Each one of the cities and all the special districts have them.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to start by saying, David, thank you. I'm so glad you're serving on LAFCO and that you are bringing MCSD into the picture here as you did. So thank you for your service and for voicing that MCSD, we should be involved when these items are going on. But I'll open it up to board members for comments and questions.
This is just informational, correct? It's just informational. There's no vote, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have some definite comments, but I wanted to wait and hear what everybody else had to say first.
Well,
go ahead, Corbett, Director.
I'm sorry.
Oh. Would you like to speak, Director Corbett?
Yes, my thoughts are that I think it's important that LAFCO make sure there's developed financial figures prior to beginning the political process.
Would you mind repeating that? You just cut out just a little bit at a key time.
My recommendation is that David stress with LAFCO that they get a complete financial analysis before they begin the political process.
And I have a comment also. There is a procedure for us to incorporate to see if it's feasible, and it's not this way we're going. It starts out with 500 petition signatures, and that I would suggest that they go that way to see if it's even something McKinleyville folks are interested in doing. That's just my comment. I think that Mr. Madrone is going about this in a way that may not be the best way to go. You know, there's a procedure, and he's kind of jumping over all the procedures, and I feel that he's leaving a lot of folks in McKinleyville's views on this out. That it's just an agenda that maybe is not going to be real popular with most folks in McKinleyville. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, thank you. I concur with Director Corbett. First off, David, thank you for sticking up for McKinleyville. I'm glad you're there at LAFCO, and we may have a slight difference of opinion on the totality of this. I'm not sure. Here's the deal. As every one of you should know, we have fought for a long damn time to get the respect that McKinleyville Community Services District deserves with the county and as an entity. And we worked really, really hard at it. We worked hard to get the MCMAC enacted. We have the best rec program probably in Northern California, in my opinion. Our services district infrastructure is the best, and we work our butts off to continue to keep it the best. Each one of us that came on this board inherited an entity that had been fought for and had been initiated by the public. I am disgusted with the way this is going. We have had a representative at the supervisors board since I was here that supported MCSD. I'm sorry, but this is not the case now. And I have been told many times that if incorporation comes, the people that are all about this will kill MCSD. And that is the worst thing in the world that could happen to this community. So, having said that, I know that's a bit of a soapbox, but David, the process that's going to happen with LAFCO, that's an ongoing process. Would you say it's like next year? I think that's the way we should go. Let LAFCO do the study. Let's get the information. And my God, with this new nightmare that we're in now with this COVID deal and our businesses and our economy, this is just foolishness, in my humble opinion. But I appreciate you being there. I like what Director Corbett asked you to do, but I'd ask for you to push at LAFCO that we're not happy to be coming in hind tit again. I don't like being the bummer cat all the time, okay? And that's what the county does to us a lot. And with our representation right now, I am not happy coming in sucking hind tit all the time. And I think every one of you should agree with that. And those are my comments. When I figure out how I feel about things, I'll let you know.
I do have one more recommendation to Board Member Couch. You might want to try a different phraseology in your arguments.
I will take that under consideration.
Yeah, some people might have to use a dictionary to understand what he was really meaning by that. So, President Burke,
Yes,
when can I make a comment when it's time?
please.
So just a couple of observations. Supervisor Madrone came to the McKinleyville Community Services District Board. He went to the MCMAC board. He went to the Board of Supervisors, and he went out to the public, and he was adamant about the fact that he was going to find out from the county what it was going to cost what the balance was related to the amount of money that's generated in McKinleyville related to what the county pays to keep McKinleyville running. Before he moved any further and before anything else happened, well, somewhere along the line, as many people in the community noted, it was not going to be that easy to figure that out and unravel that. And lo and behold, that has become what happened. So now we're at a place where there's a negotiation without McKinleyville being present to discuss a preliminary feasibility study. Usually preliminary feasibility studies are done, money's collected from the community. It's done via donations. And it's paid for. A consultant is purchased to do that, to do that work. The only bright side I see to this is that the county of Humboldt won't even fund the McMac with any money. I find it very unlikely that they're going to kick down the money to perform a preliminary feasibility study. And that's all I really have to say on this matter.
You were muted again.
Hi. Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. So I was asking if there was any more board comment on this item and any public comment on this item.
Pick up for us, Dave.
I will. That's why I brought it back, because I didn't want it to just be me. I wanted you guys to all get to share.
And if I'm correct, this is,
Go back.
so this meeting,
I'm blocking for you. I'll do it.
so remind me again, this was at the April 29th meeting that, so what are we looking at here? Our,
So it was just kind of an informational item that was like the last thing on our agenda for our last LAFCO meeting.
Yeah, there's been
okay.
basically a staff report about meetings that were done with LAFCO staff.
Could you say that again? You said something about a staff report?
Yeah, these are basically staff reports. The meetings that LAFCO staff had with other entities.
Okay, so this summarizes what had happened, and I'm just trying to be clear. There's not an opportunity to say show up. This item has already been presented at LAFCO.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think until there's a way to fund the preliminary feasibility study, it won't happen.
I mean, I was going to say, if we wanted to put this on the agenda next time, we could like send a letter to the lady who's the CAO for Humboldt County saying if they discuss McKinleyville Incorporation, they should include us in that discussion. Would be, an action that would be possible, but we didn't put this up as an action item. And, I would see what everybody else thinks of that idea.
Can I get an idea of how the board feels about that idea? So that would be bring this back as an action item to draft a letter to LAFCO requesting MCSD involvement in any discussions of incorporation, something like that, Dave?
Well, it would be to LAFCO and also to the Humboldt County CAO.
I would go for that, but I'd like it not to be written ahead of time so that we could vet it out and write our comments at the meeting. Is that okay?
We might have some
Yes.
of it formatted somehow. It might take too long otherwise. Was my only.
That's what I was thinking. Writing by committee is often quite a challenge, but
How about
yeah.
this alternative that we that you as the board president can put together a temporary committee to put together a letter and then bring it back to the board for approval.
How hard is a letter saying no? We don't want you doing this crap, and we're furious that you try to do this without including us. How about just simply saying that?
Well, yeah, I guess you could go that route.
Whatever.
I was just trying to streamline the process, but Dennis, if that's the intent of the board, if that's the intent of the message that you want to convey, that's pretty straightforward, and we should be able to get that knocked out in no time at all.
Well, that's my opinion. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but this is beyond insulting to me, and it should be beyond insulting to everybody that's worked of this district.
John, if you're trying to speak, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I'm sorry. I just think a little bit more diplomacy. I think we need to stress who we are, that we're absolutely essential to the process, no matter who brings it forward or chooses not to bring it forward, and that we expect to be consulted and part of the process each and every step of the way. It should go to the County Board of Supervisors as a whole, and it should go to LAFCO. And then I don't want us in a situation directly attacking the supervisor. We're going to have to work with him. But I think if we just state that we're an essential party, that calm, rational way, that is a pretty strong statement.
You know, John, we can't very well. I apologize, and you're always well spoken. But you know what? It's just my opinion, okay? Don't start talking to me about how we should get our diplomacy. If there was proper diplomacy, this would have been brought to us correctly. I'm not in the mood to be, kissy face diplomacy. I'm down with us doing and I'm not going to agree to anything that doesn't clarify that.
Well, I think we have a way of doing business, and I support us being clear and communicating well when we do our business. I am interested in a letter, and I kind of think a special committee of John and Dennis might be the way to help us get a draft to bring a letter back to the next board meeting. Would Director Corbett and Director Mayo be willing to work together to draft a communication?
I just hope there's a lot of whiskey around.
Depends on what's in your house. That's up to you.
Goodness.
And so the special committee, and I'm not sure, general managers, you would be involved in this special committee as well. Is that how you would see this?
Yeah, sure. And Dennis, and so Dennis is trying to talk, and Dennis said he would be very willing to work with Trevor.
And I also said, John, it's your turn to buy lunch.
As long as we meet until dinner and you can pay me back.
And you know that.
Oh, goodness.
Say something to all of you. Look, I'm pretty adamant about how hard we've worked in McKinleyville to do the right thing, okay? And so I'm passionate about this. But John knows, and Greg knows, that I will work in an absolute balanced way to try to put stuff together, okay? Doesn't mean I'm not passionate, and I'm not going to say what I think. But I always will work for this district for the best of this district.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so do I have agreement from my suggested, well, actually, I'm president. I can tell you that you're on the committee, but I would like to know that you're willing to serve on the committee. Can I hear from the suggested parties?
Yes.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
Thank you. And so, General Manager, will you help convene a communication with the subcommittee?
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Our getting on Zoom is not stellar, but we'll figure some way to be able to get the three of us together.
Okay. Thank you.
Whiskey kills
Okay,
viruses.
well, again, thank you, Director Couch, for bringing this to us, and I look forward to seeing what is put together with our special committee. On to item F, reports. So these are our active committee reports. F1, starting with the Recreational Advisory Committee. No, hold on. Sorry.
Is this me or is this Leslie?
Yes, it's you.
Okay, well, we met via Zoom and mainly we talked about potentially developing a BMX track at our park at Washington and school. And that was the majority of the meeting. So that's about it.
And I believe from the recreation report, it was sort of said that it can't go too much farther without being able to convene in-person meetings and such.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Anything else to add? Okay. Item B, area fund. And so that Director Barsanti?
We voted on the grants and via email and decided on the grants. So that I imagine they probably have a presentation or something. I'm not sure. So, but that was good. That was interesting. What a wonderful organization. You know, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Redwood Region Economic Development Commission, Mayo?
Yeah, we've had quite a bit of activity. There's some meetings going on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays on Zoom. It's pretty much proprietary stuff. I can't really be specific. We've let out, and don't quote me because since I'm on the phone, I had this stuff ready to read to you off the phone. But I think we've lent out like $575,000 and to local businesses. Some businesses that were already clients of ours, and we've got a whole bunch of money in the queue that we're trying to get out to specific local businesses. I think it's going really well. Not good enough always, ever. There's a lot of people out there that are falling through the cracks, like me and a lot of other people. But they're really trying hard, just like our president is trying really hard to get this out for working people. And so I want to give a kudo to Greg Foster for all of his hard work. And we've been partnering up with all the economic development groups in Humboldt County. and really cool, really cool. I can't like because that's proprietary, but we're a pretty damn good community, and we try hard.
That's for sure. Thank you. Senior Center, Director Barsanti.
Yes, I drove by, and I imagine the senior center was closed and it won't be open for quite a while. But my husband is in the memoir class, and they are starting to have Zoom meetings where they cover, and I'm thinking maybe some of the other activities, maybe, I don't know, maybe are doing that too. So a little bit of continuation, but I imagine they're pretty hurting right now with the COVID and all the seniors and everything. So wish them the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Audit Committee, Corbett, Barsanti.
Oh,
John, you're on mute.
We're just working on getting a meeting together, so nothing to report at this time. So we're not a
Thank you.
wheel either.
Employee negotiations, Couch.
Nothing to report.
Micmac. We just had a meeting, didn't we? Sorry, my brain.
Would you like me to take it?
It's coming back to me now. Micmac did convene a Zoom meeting with the primary purpose of sharing out with our health and safety, health and safety officers. We heard from the Sheriff's Department as well as the Fire Department. And, we heard a bit from the Fire Department, how they're adapting to not having passed the measure for, I'm forgetting, Measure R. So they're doing sort of a rotating blackout of one station, so that they're not shutting any one down right now. They're trying to figure out how to proceed, but so they are right now at this point choosing to rotate between the three stations. Is there more that you're remembering, Greg?
Yeah, so I think that Sean Campbell came and gave us a brief, and we did ask about Measure R, and he did hit on the fact that McKinleyville was very, very poorly represented when it came to the voting, and that only 50% of the affirmative votes came from McKinleyville, and so I think that they talked about the difficulties they're having, and that their intent is to continue to do the rotating blackouts, and the only station that they don't own is the one in downtown Arcata, and the main station, and they are adamant about not defaulting on the rent because the volunteer fire department, the volunteer fire district owns that, and so they're going to do everything in their power not to default on that rent.
Yes, thank you for digging in a little deeper there. And I thought it was, you're reminding me when Sean Campbell mentioned that, out of the area that votes, McKinleyville had the least support. And, they talked about the name being Arcata Fire District, and also talked about misinformation, that they believe there's a lot of misinformation out there that influence people's votes. So just wanted to add in there.
Oh yeah, and I might add that they're considering, if they don't bring it back in November, they'll bring it back in the next election. Taking another shot at getting the measure passed.
Okay. Humboldt LAFCO, do you have any more to report on, Dave?
Nope, I think I did enough tonight.
Okay. So Environmental Matters Committee, have you met?
We've not met.
That's Couch and Corbett. No? Okay. Item F2, legislative and regulatory reports. So I'll turn first to our general manager.
Thank you.
Do you have any?
I've filled out several surveys that were initiated by California Special Districts Association related to both state and also federal representation for special districts. So we're working really hard to make sure that the special districts are on at least being, if not on equal footing with counties and cities, at least being considered when it comes to the stimulus and also the considerations that we are under financial duress because of the shelter-in-place issues related to COVID.
Thank you. Do any board members have any items to bring forward under legislative and regulatory reports? Okay, hearing none, I'll move into staff reports, and starting with Support Services Department with our Finance Director, Colleen Trask.
There we go. I am unmuted this time. One thing that didn't get into the budget or audit update before now, we have audit RFPs to review, and so as Director Corbett pointed out, the audit committee will be setting up a meeting for next week so that we can review the proposals for our next next audit contract. And then the other thing is, I usually don't have attachments with my staff report, but this time I did because the board specifically requested to be kept abreast of the lock list situation and the DCV locks. I did get one update today right before I left work that one of the folks on the DCV had repaired his DCV. It's been inspected and he passed, so he's now off the list. But if there's any questions, if the board has questions or about the process or anyone on the list, please, this is the time to ask.
Any questions from any board members? Okay, hearing none.
Yeah, could I add this? I guess this is as good a time as any to bring this up. So there was some question related to whether or not what the impact was financially to the ratepayers and if they were going to be able to pay their bills, and there's the governor did pass an executive order that we could not lock for non-payment, and so we have been working diligently. I just want to say our support services staff has been doing the yeoman's job of calling, and I was going to use the word hounding, but I didn't think that would be appropriate. But they've been calling and sending out notices and really working with our members of our community to be able to make it possible for them to either commit to pay or to pay whatever they possibly can, so that they don't get they don't become hopeless in getting behind on their water bills. And so up at this point in time, I believe we've locked four services, and those were not because of non-payment. Those were because nobody would communicate back to us from those services. And what we found in one this month and one last month is that the people basically left, and one specifically was the people had moved out. Somebody had moved in and is squatting on the property, and they were basically using water. They were using water, and so us going out and locking was going to save either the owner of the property or the previous customer costs. So we're not just arbitrarily letting this go by the wayside. In fact, I'd say that our support services staff are working extra diligently in verifying why people aren't making contact with us when they're being noticed that they have a water bill to pay. So I would say that at this point in time, and Colleen can chime in here, that because of the extra work of our support services staff, we're in a very manageable situation related to people not getting behind and but still being able to maintain their water service.
Yeah. Yeah, the support services, the whole staff has been just doing an incredible job. Our lock process has always been pretty robust. I mean, we've always done multiple IVR calls. We've always done door hangers, notices, every kind of possible notification. And we've just added a couple extra layers of that for the current situation. But that does mean that we have somebody who's not just the 2 rounds of automatic calls, but like multiple rounds of actually, staff calling people in the community and going, let's talk about this, so that you don't end up with a $500 massive water bill at the end of this, once things get going again, because that's completely untenable, and that's not doing a good service to our customers, is to letting them end up with something like that. That's really hard on people. So, I mean, this stuff is hard enough, we're trying not to make it worse. I mean, it sounds almost counterintuitive, because we're trying to get them to pay something or set up arrangements or whatever. But it really is about serving the customer and helping them out in the long run. And I can't say enough about Dave, Jennifer, and Joey. They have all been, like Greg said, they've all been doing yeoman's work, and I'm just super proud of them. So.
Yeah, and I think just to demonstrate to the board that lock day would have been last Wednesday, I believe. Colleen, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And the week before that, there were 218 people that were on that list, and just by sheer contact.
3 weeks.
Oh, three weeks.
It spreads out over 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah, we started with more than 200 people.
Yeah, more than 200 people on April 1st were on the lock list, and by the time the day came to where we would have locked, if we were going to go out and lock, we were down to only having 4 or 5 people left. And like I said,
what ratepayers is that, Greg?
What's that?
What? Just a swag. Approximately what percentage of our ratepayers is that?
Well, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of, I guess, about 5,800 customers.
So that's a hell of a high percentage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even at the beginning with 200 customers out of between 5,000 and 6,000 customers, that's 3.8%, 3.75%. So that's a small number, but when you realize that the staff got it down to 4 out of between 5,000 and 6,000 customers, that's phenomenal. I mean, that's like incredible. So yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I wanted to bring to the board, and I wanted to give you guys the update because you asked for it and it's important.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for sharing the extra details. And please, yes, all of you directors in your departments, please, convey the board's thanks And like I said last time, I think it's more than just thanking those who are coming to work, but those who are at home supporting our staff being at work. I think this is going on a long time, and it takes a toll on both people who are coming in as frontline service and those who are supporting them. So thank you. Thanks to your staff for this and for all the work you're doing.
I'll tell them for sure. Thank you.
I have just one comment, if I could.
Go ahead.
I do want to say to our staff, what a fantastic job. I'm really happy with what you're doing. I do want to say that I think our defaults will grow. We're not out of this yet.
Yeah.
On how fast the economy starts, people will be running out of reserves. So we need to keep our heads up. As far as what the district is doing, we're doing what we can in a very challenging environment. Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item F3B, Operations Department, with our Operations Director, James Henry.
Yes, as much as I'd like to say nothing to add, I do have stuff to add. I did throw a couple attachments on the back of my staff report, which is on page 208 and 209, because the topic was a hot topic last board meeting and somewhat discussed a little bit tonight. And I even highlighted the sections on 208. So that's part of the cross connection control. That any backflow preventer that fails during periodic testing will be repaired or replaced, and with a 30-day notice. And then during the State Water Resource Control Board released their memo out, and if you look at the third bullet point, is failed DTV devices should be repaired or replaced immediately. So I know the topic came up last board meeting on how far we can let them go, and that kind of spells it out for us. And then the other thing, I think Greg already, to add to my report, Greg, I think already informed you guys that we're handling masks now for water and wastewater utilities.
Could you repeat that? Handling what?
Distributing masks to water and wastewater utilities through Cal Warren.
Okay.
I think, yeah, that was, you guys were, I won't go through that.
That was an email that you did yesterday, I believe.
That's all
Thank you, James. It's always nice to hear more from you. Any questions from board members? Any questions from the public? Or I'll open public comment. And I will also acknowledge that I forgot to open public comment on the last item. So I would like to open public comment for both items at this time. Hearing none. Let's see. Then we are moving on to item F3C, Parks and Rec Director's Report. Turning to our Recreation Director, Leslie Frisbee.
I do not have anything to add to my report at this time.
Any questions for our Recreation Director from the board? Any, and I'm sorry, do we normally open, I'm just not myself, do we normally open for public comment we don't during reports?
Not typically.
Yeah, okay. So then that'll make it go quicker. Thank you. And we are to General Manager's report. We're into our General Manager, Greg Orsini.
Yeah, thank you, President Burke. I just would like to bring, I've added a little bit about the COVID-19 stuff. we've submitted our IDE to the county for which is the individual damage estimation, which goes to Humboldt County OES. And as of March 30th, we'd accumulated approximately $12,356 in costs that are directly related to COVID. We'll update that again monthly when Colleen closes March, or that'll be we'll update that. And we're also in the process of getting our public assistance through the Corona Relief Fund, which is FEMA 4482 event number. So we're also basically signed up for that. Now, whether or not we'll have any real, I think we do have some, we do have a good bit of claimable damage, or, I call them damages because of it being a disaster, but expenses. And James basically came up with another one today with how our staff is having to be isolated from each other. We're probably, it looks like we're actually spending more money on fuel for our trucks, and we'll also be looking into that and seeing if we can charge, even though gas is cheaper than it's been in 15 years, we'll still be claiming some expense, extra expense for that. We're in the process of reviewing the statement of qualifications, and we'll be bringing a contract for professional services for design of the 4.5 million gallon water tank to the June meeting, and we received one statement of qualifications today for the 3 sewer crossings under the freeway. We're in the process of reviewing that, and so far it looks like it's going to be a statement of qualifications that we'll accept, and then we'll enter into negotiations for scope and for effort on that. So those are 2 projects that are getting ready to begin in earnest. The microgrid project is into design, and we're meeting we were meeting on a monthly basis. We're now meeting on a every couple of weeks basis on that. And Hiller Lift Station project, which is the simplest project we have going right now, is actually we're reviewing submittals, and the long lead time that are going to be for the pumps is going to probably hold off on us them actually breaking ground on that project, their mobilization on that project, until probably July, early August. So that's basically everything that I have. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions from board members? I have one. Can you remind the board, so here we are, this is our May board meeting, and we have Mr. Kaspari scheduled to report to work on June 1st. Can you remind us how in June you, current general manager, and Mr. Kaspari are going to interact, and then we're heading to July. So just give us a high flying overview of transition and how it's going and what we can expect.
Okay, at least 6 feet apart with masks on. So anyway, so Pat and I are going to start having we communicate on a regular basis because of the project. Pat's been doing an amazing job, and has many hours in already. and he's not even started yet. So I just would like to recognize how much work Pat's already put in for McKinleyville Community Services District without getting a paycheck for it. But Pat and I will we're going to start having weekly phone calls. I thought by now, before COVID, that we would probably be meeting in person and being able to have these communications in person, but we'll limit those to phone calls, and then with the real work starting in earnest, starting on June 1st. But Pat's received all of his onboarding materials. He's had those for a month now, I would have to guess, and he's basically, we're so far along right now that Pat's computer that he's going to be using is ordered. It's not set up yet because it's at my workstation, and when Pat starts on June 1st, all we're going to have to do to get him going is he'll have to sign some stuff with Diane with HR. He'll be issued his security codes to get in and out of the buildings and his keys, and he'll be ready to go. I think Colleen, he's put it on the list that we need to order Pat a credit card.
Yes, I'll have Joey take care of that when we do the card orders.
Okay.
I'll make sure that happens.
He's got credit card. No, this is Umpqua.
Oh, you want a credit card? Okay, yeah.
Credit card. He's already got his business cards, and
okay.
He's got a fuel card too.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Okay, yeah, I'll give him a call.
Well, thank you. And so related to, so if Pat is reporting to work on June 1st, say at the June board meeting, how are we handling his versus your role?
We've not worked through that yet.
Okay.
I can guarantee you by the July board meeting, Pat will be soloing.
Yes, and you're so sorry to ask you, but and then your schedule, your last day with us is what is it, July 15? Is that the last time we have you?
July 17th, Friday, July 17th will be my final day. I actually go on vacation on July 1st, and I come back on July 15th, I believe. And then I will, but I'll be available that whole time if Pat has any questions, and I'm sure I'll be around.
Okay. And I'm just trying to get to my calendar to remember, is the 1st the board meeting? Yes, okay.
Actually, June 1st on a Monday. Yeah, June 1st is a Monday. And the meeting is June the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
And July 1st is a Wednesday.
Yeah, okay, July 1st is a Wednesday.
Yeah. And so we have you on the books, but you're not around between the 1st and when you're officially
yes, I'll be taking,
your tenure is complete.
I'll be taking some administrative leave, but I will be available by phone. I'm not going anywhere, so I'll be around.
Okay, great. Well, we look forward to a smooth transition, as smooth as we can expect during these times. Thanks, Pat, for putting in the time before you're even on the books with us, and we look forward to working with you. So we are to F4 President's Report, and I don't have a report to give. Just want to give thanks to all the board members for everything you bring to this district, and also just to reiterate the thanks to all of our staff and you know, these are extraordinary times, and you all are extraordinary people. So keep your spirits up and keep up the good work. And I think we're doing a great job working, you know, as a team for this district, for our community. So thank you. And item F5, board member comments, announcements, reports, and agenda item requests.
I have a comment if nobody else does.
Well, I might have heard Director Corbett.
Yeah, I'm not, am I muted?
No, you were just quiet. So go ahead, Director Corbett.
Oh, well, first of all, I think you've been doing an excellent job as chair in navigating through the technology glitches in the change format. I just want to thank you for just doing an outstanding job of that.
Thank you.
And then I wanted to say I'm still working with the microphone. I hope it's better than last week on Garbled In. But then also I've noticed this meeting, it looks like I'm getting a lobotomy during the meeting with my forehead. That's a mirror prism problem I have that I'm going to try to work out for the next meeting, and no surgeries ongoing.
It's hard to tell with all this, you know, computer, but I think you were making a joke about your.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, John,
We look forward to hearing better audio from you, John, next time.
John, it looks like the camera's inside inside a grand piano, and that's the lid going across your forehead.
Yes, although it's not a computer lid. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure it out myself. Any other board member comments?
I have one.
Go ahead.
So am I up?
Go ahead.
You're up. Go ahead.
So Mary, I wanted to give a kudos to you managing this very well, and it's a interesting bit of art to manage this, and especially I want to thank you for your ability to control and manage Director Corbett.
He's controlling himself there with all his audio, visuals.
I may not
Thank
be
you,
the only.
Director Mayo. Okay. And is that all, Director Mayo?
That's it.
Okay. Well, let's see. Anything else? Hearing none? Then we are, I'm going to move to adjourn this meeting, and thank you all very much. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in a month.
Bye, Mary.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.